like this, I have all kinds of questions. And a lot of people mix Annie Oakley up with Calamity Jane. A lot of people mix her up with what they see on the show Annie Get Your Gun. And so when you get done listening to this, you'll have the truth about Annie Oakley. And when you fill out those little sheets, you can tell the humanities that you're glad that you learned the truth, because that's what they want me to do, is get out the real history about Annie Oakley. My husband's going to come around and he's going to show a poster board. I have a high-tech and a low-tech version of this talk. Well, of course, being out here, it's kind of hard to show a PowerPoint of this talk, and so that's why we have the poster boards. But we're going to have Kevin and probably Wayne too pass these poster boards around, and they'll come through pretty quickly, but you'll be able to see these actual pictures that you would have been able to see on PowerPoint. So we'll get started right away. And what I'm going to actually tell you first is I'm going to cool you off. You see, until she was 6 years old, she was just like any other little girl. And then when she was 6, her dad went on a bitter cold day, and he went to the grist mill. When he went to the grist mill, he came back home, and he came through this blizzard. What happened was he caught pneumonia. He never got well. He had frostbite and pneumonia, the record books say, and the mother was left with a large family. He passed away. Well, she couldn't raise that family, for those of you who have listened to my orphan train talk. And in those days, what would happen would be they would give some of the kids away to other family members, and then the other kids they would give to an orphanage. Well, Annie got given to an orphanage, or asylum as they called them back in those days. The orphanage or asylum that she was put in there in Darke County, Ohio, taught her a couple of trades. One was to sew, which came in very handy later on. She sewed her own costumes. The other was to do embroidery, and she did fancy embroidery work, as you can see on her own costume.
The weight of the top does all the motion. You might have to step off. I don't know. I'll just put that little off here. Little one come up.
Wouldn't have killed him, but boy, that'd hurt.
Yeah. That's what I always thought too. If you didn't stick them, just the weight of the hawk would be enough to make it stop running.
Yeah.
Catches attention anyhow.
Yeah, it comes behind the ear, it really catches their attention.
If I don't want any more tomahawk being thrown out.
Exactly. I just step with your, start off, step with your left foot, you're right-handed, step with your left foot, follow straight. Okay, I found the towel. Hate it when it's done.
Oh, yeah. I want to try.
Oh, you got a whirly. Top of the feather. Many days. You know, a little more. Checking those up. Check it out. Step up. Just like hit the tennis ball if you ever play tennis. Just the same throw, about 10 o'clock release.
Earlier, Wild Bill was actually James Butler Hickok. How did he get the name Wild Bill?
Well, David McCandless always teased him about his nose and his protruding upper lip, so he nicknamed him Duck Bill. This is where the bill came from, and according to the legend, Hickok went wild during a fight with the McCandless gang, and he killed single-handedly David McCandless and his gang.
It is no wonder James Butler Hickok hated McCandless for teasing him. What kind of man was David C. McCandless?
David C. McCandless was a tough man. He was a shrewd businessman. He liked to use his fist, but he wasn't a horse thief or a murderer or a desperado. He could be disagreeable and hard to get along with, but he wasn't a leader of a band of heavily armed cutthroats that terrorized the prairie, as Wild Bill always claimed.
Wild Bill claimed all of that?
Yeah.
Why?
Because Wild Bill's claim made interesting reading in dime novels of the 1860s, but it wasn't accurate history. Colonel George Ward Nichols wrote the first publicized account in February 1867 issue of Harper's Magazine. He described how Wild Bill single-handedly fought and defeated the armed gang. He will relate the story in his own words.
You see, this McCandless was the captain of a gang of desperados, horse thieves, murderers, regular cutthroats, who were the terror of everybody on the border and who kept us in the mountains in hot water whenever they were around. I knew them all in the mountains, where they pretended to be trapping, but they were hiding from the hangman. McCandless was the biggest scoundrel bully of them all, and was allers a bragging of what he could do. One day I beat him shooting at a mark and then threw him at the back hole. And I didn't drop him as soft as you would a baby, you may be sure of that. Well, he got savage mad about it and swore he'd have his revenge on me sometime. I was 61 when I guided a detachment of cavalry who were coming in from Camp Floyd. We had nearly reached the Kansas line and we're in South Nebraska. One afternoon I went out of camp to go to the cabin of an old friend of mine, a Mrs. Waltman. I took only one of my revolvers with me. I saw some wild turkeys on the road as I was going down and popped one of them over, thinking he'd be just the thing for supper. Well, I rode up to Mrs. Waltman, jumped off my horse, and went to the cabin.
Okay.
Hi, Miss Bowman. How's it going?
What are you doing here, Bill? They're looking for you. They're going to kill Calvary.
Well, two can play at that game.
Oh, it's too late. They're already coming up the road.
There's that damn gang Bill's horse. We'll surround the house, skin him.
Go get him, boss!
Okay, get
I
on.
I don't mind a
Go get
scrimmage.
him, McCandless! Get our money!
Then there's some more narration while I'm sneaking up.
Okay. I don't mind a scrimmage with these fellers around here. Shoot one or two of them and the rest will run away. But all McCandless gangs were reckless, bloodthirsty devils who would fight as long as they had strength to pull a trigger. I've been in tight places, but I'll tell you, that's one of them few times I said my prayers.
Surround the house, give no quarter.
You can get our money for us!
Okay.
When I heard that, I felt as quiet and cool as if I was going to church. I looked around the room and saw Hawkins' rifle shotgun hanging over the bed.
Is that rifle loaded?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Just then, McCandless poked his head inside the doorway, but jumped back when he saw me with the rifle in my hand.
Daryl. No, Levi, come in here, you cowardly
Yeah, that's
dog.
right. Get up, Dad.
Oh, that's the cabin. Not your dad.
You cowardly dog.
Oh, louder.
Casey, can you bring it?
Yeah.
McCandless was no coward, even if he was a bully. He jumped inside the room with his gun leveled to shoot, but he was not quick enough. My rifle ball went through his heart. He fell back outside the house. His disappearance was yelled, followed by a yell from his gang. And then there was I said to myself, only 6 shots and 9 men to kill. Save your powder, Bill, for the dead time's coming. I don't know why, but at that moment things seemed clear and sharp. I could think strong. There was a few seconds of that awful stillness, and then the ruffians came rushing in. How wild they looked with their red, drunken faces and inflamed eyes, shooting and a-cussing. But I never aimed more deliberately in my life. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 men all fell dead. That didn't stop the rest. 2 of them fired their bird guns. I felt a sting run all over. The room was full of smoke. 2 got in close, their eyes glaring out of the clouds. I knocked one down with my fist. The second I shot dead. The other three crowded me down. I broke one man's arm with my hand, and then a ruffian had his fingers round my throat. I was struck across the breast with the stock of a rifle, the blood rushing out of my nose and mouth. Then I got ugly. I remember that I got hold of a knife and it was all cloudy-like, and I was like wild, striking savage blows, following the devils up from one side to the other of the room and into the corners, striking and slashing until everyone was dead. All of a sudden it seemed as if my heart was on fire. I was bleeding everywhere. I rushed out to the well. I rushed out to the well and drank from the bucket, and then tumbled down in a faint. There were 11 buckshot in me. I carry some of them now. I was cut in 13 places, all of them bad enough to have let the man run out of me. But that blessed old Dr. Mills pulled me safe through it all after a bed siege of many a week.
That is an interesting story.
Yes, it's an interesting story. A story that made Wild Bill the legend that he is. But remember, it is only a story, only a legend. Not the facts of what really happened at Rock Creek Station on July the 12th, 1861.
He was remembering. Don't applaud, it's no money. You got me off track, see, I was supposed to start my poem, and you applauded, now I forgot where I was at. He was remembering that thorn in his foot, broken and bent, bedded deep in the flesh of his heel, and the pain its removal would likely present, and thus the hesitation he surely to feel. He knew well the thorn need be removed if they planned to continue on. Still there'd be time for his foot to improve once the thorn was removed and gone. His dad found a stick a full inch round for the boy to place between his teeth and told his son that he should bite down as a source for his pain be released. 'Tis a way of a man to bear the pain while not voicing a holler or scream or damage his teeth as he fought to restrain, though the force of the bite be extreme.
Yeah, maybe so. They're going to start shooting down here, though. Oh, this would be cool. They're going to ride and shoot. There's water right there. Mommy's got some water. You don't have to water is what you need.
Ran Pony Express from April 1860 through October 1861. So just barely 18 months. Rock Creek Station was a swing station on Pony Express. And at a swing station, horse and rider came in. There we go, got a little something out of it. Horse and rider came in, changed horses, and the same rider took off. We're going to do a Pony Express demonstration today but we're going to do it as though this was a home station. At a home station, a rider came in, stopped his horse, put the mochila on a new horse, and a new rider took off. Home stations were about 50 to 75 miles apart. The swing stations were about 10 to 15 in general. And so we've got things kind of getting going. Usually the Pony Express was kind of an advertising, you might say, for the stage company. Russell's Majors Waddell operated the Pony Express and the Central Overland Pikes Peak, California stage line, commonly known as the Overland Stage. And so when the riders came in, they came in hard. But the horses couldn't really run 15 miles full out. They were tough, but they couldn't run that far. So they made a big show when they came in. And they came in on a hard lope, and that looked good. That was advertising. And so as the Pony Express came in, come right down the trail, come on down. There he comes. You can see a rider coming in. Good coming.
He's delivering everybody's
Come in
mail.
hooping and hollering, hoping they've
come
got
here
a
to
fresh
get your
horse
mail.
for him. He'd skid to a stop. Pull that mochila right off the saddle there. The mochila itself has got 4 pockets on, one on each corner. That'd be called a cantina. 3 of those pockets carried mail that was locked. That mail was designated to go from, but in about that much time, horse and rider were gone. But the 3 locked cantinas carried mail from St. Joe, Missouri, bound for California. The 4th cantina was left unlocked, and you might say that was yesterday's email between stations. As for memos and that type of work. But the Pony Express was one of America's icons. It was a major success in founding the West, settling the West. It proved that we could communicate between the East Coast and the West Coast. The train did arrive the mail arrived to St. Louis. Or excuse me, I'm sorry, I said St. Louis, I meant St. Joe, arrived by train. And there was a little bit of pressure on the engineer to get that mail there on time, especially the first few mails. And I recall reading that the engineer pushed that old engine.
Just one at a time off the end.
What do you suppose is in there? My goodness, you found a lot of beets.
Yeah.
You were busy, weren't you?
I actually
Don't pull up too tight. Oh, just keep pushing. Push.
Turn
There
up
you
and down,
go.
up and down.
What do you get from a cow?
Milk.
Just milk?
Just push on the ends. Push on the very
Actually,
ends.
this is cream. That's part of the milk.
Part of it. Stuff that floats.
Yeah, the fat part.
Yeah,
The good part. The
The
fat
good part,
stuff,
yeah.
The good stuff. Yeah, the cream floats to the top, and you put the cream in that, and that's a churn.
So you're making...
And when you churn cream, it becomes something that you like on your toast in the morning.
We just
Butter?
ate-
Butter!
Yep,
You just ate
good.
some butter out of that churn. Was it good?
Just had butter and biscuits.
Yep. We had somebody here earlier churn another churn full, so.